What's up, everybody? We're going to talk about Aquaman. I just got out of the movie theaters, so it's really fresh in my mind, and this will be my non-spoiler review. Let's talk about this movie. Wow. This is the end of the DC universe, and to be quite honest, I believe the Warner Brothers, did all that they could to bury the Zack Snyder universe. I don't think that they promoted this movie very well. There's a lot of drama behind the scenes. There's Amber Heard that is in the movie, and we all know that Jason Momoa is linked to the Zack Snyder universe. And we also know that James Gunn is rebooting the whole thing, so they want to bury the DC universe and start anew. Therefore, this is supposed to be the end of that universe that we have been following for 10 years. And right off the bat, I gotta say this movie was not as good as the first Aquaman. I really enjoyed that film. The first one had great visuals, the story was fun, and I even got to watch that before release. And I was so surprised and so happy because it was very different, right? And I thought that Jason Momoa was just perfect to play Aquaman. Here, Jason Momoa is basically playing Jason Momoa, so that's was my first criticism. He is very different than the first Aquaman movie, and to be quite honest, the biggest issue with all these films is that because there was not one person, Zack Snyder is no longer deciding being part of the movie decision. So in every single movie that we saw Aquaman, he seems to have a different personality, and it's not different here. If you saw Flash, at the very end of Flash, there is a end credit scene with Aquaman in which he's basically a drunk falling asleep on a pothole, and here is another Aquaman that is just a dad. He's dealing with family issues, having a baby, and just that whole family stuff and dealing with a kid. I thought it was very interesting, but it really felt like, there's a lot of situations, a lot of jokes that to me didn't land it, and it really felt like Jason Momoa was having a lot of fun, which is great, but it really felt he was playing himself. It's the same thing when there's a lot of The Rock films that I watch that I feel he's just playing himself. It's just The Rock, and I felt that's how it came off here. Aquaman was just not the Aquaman I wanted to see, or was taking that this is a sequel to the first film. But I gotta say, I don't think this movie was as bad as a lot of people are painting it. There's a lot of things that I enjoyed. However, we have to talk about, who? Amber Heard. Well, if you are one of those people that are boycotting this film because she's in it, we knew that her role was going to be reduced. And to be quite honest, she's in a movie a lot more than I expected, and maybe a lot of people expected. Although her part is definitely cut down for sure. She is in a lot of scenes just standing next to Aquaman. She doesn't speak a lot. For the most part, she's just quiet. I think I was reading an article in which they said she had no more than 11 lines, but she was in some big action scenes, and she's there. So if you don't like her, you're probably not going to like that, because she's in a lot of scenes, total of about 20 minutes, and it's a 2-hour film. So yeah, and this is another thing that I thought, Warner Brothers is really making everything for this movie to fail, because her role should have been recast. It should have been another actor. Studios have done that so many times, and with someone that is so controversial after the Johnny Depp trial, public opinion is definitely not on her side, and they just didn't do anything. They could, it's just make no sense that they kept her in the movie. They should have recast, because this whole film was about Arthur Curry's family, about him having a family, and the fact that she was not there, as for a lot of it, it was just a bit weird. But there's a lot in this movie, guys, that is a little bit disjointed. I mean, there's some fun scenes, there was some CGI that were really great, some great camera movement. There is a part, I mean, we don't know James Wan is really famous for horror, and there's a part in the movie, I think towards the end, in which we can sort of see that horror stuff from James Wan there, and I just think that was actually really cool. So there's a lot of things that were good, but on the other hand, I kept thinking this movie must have had a lot of studio meddling, just because it seems like a lot of parts were cut out, or I don't know if there's a longer version. I don't know if it was because of Amber Heard, but anyways. And then let's talk about Manta. That was the one character I thought was really consistent in the first film and this one as well. There's a lot, most of the time, I mean, he's a very serious character. He was not popping jokes here and there. And I would say he definitely came off as threatening. As when it comes to Aquaman, like I said, he has not been very consistent. I mean, he was serious in the first film, and we had funny parts and funny moments, and that's sort of what I was expecting here. But like I said, it feels like every single time we see Aquaman in a movie or in a cameo, he is acting a little bit different. So that was a problem. And Aquaman also has that thing that, it felt like a regression from the first film, because I mean, he is already the king of Atlantis, but he's still like, oh, I don't want to be the king, and just like complaining the things that as like, you shouldn't be in this place anymore. Like we had that part the first film. Now you are the king and you should be dealing with other stuff, but he's just sort of like complaining about this responsibility that he just didn't want. So I was like, I didn't like that writing, so I thought there were a lot of things in the writing that didn't work. However, there were a lot of scenes that were fun, especially the ones with his brother. A lot of stuff I did enjoy. I also had a lot of vibes from like Pirates of Caribbean as well, and that was kind of surprising, but it did remind me a lot of that movie. And overall, like I said, it's not as good as the first one, but in my opinion, it is also not as bad as a lot of other reviews are saying out there. I have to agree that the story is a little bit stupid. Like, it's not very, like, I don't know. It's just like DC has this awesome stories that are already They're already there in the comic book, and all they had to do is basically just adapt that. But here, there's a lot of stuff that they're just, I don't know why they want to do something different. And it's just like the comic books were just so great, but here they have to do something always different. There's another issue that I had with this movie. Stakes. Even though they want us to believe, oh, people could die, the stakes are really high, but not at one point I was concerned about any character, For anybody, I was just like, oh, I just don't really believe that something serious is going to happen here. And that is also a problem, in my opinion, because a good movie should keep you in the edge of your seat. Maybe that person is never going to die, but the movie should be good enough to have you think, oh my God, could that person die? And here, I just didn't get that feeling. But overall, I gotta say, I'm a little bit disappointed with the ending of Aquaman, taking the fact that, wow, this is really the ending of the DCEU, and I think Warner Brothers did what they could to make sure that this is done and buried. And I don't know if this is going to be a flop. It looks like it's already flopping. And I gotta say, well, if you're just having people boycotting the film because of Amber Heard, I mean, again, another mistake. Why didn't they recast that person? Everyone knows that she was not very welcome in public opinion, and they have recasted other people for much less. And but when it comes to her, she just gets to be in the movie, and it was just annoying to see her there, even though she wasn't there for a big chunk of the movie, but she was there, and I was just like, oh my God, this woman is playing superhero and doing heroic things, when in fact we know she's a supervillain, taking what she done to Johnny Depp. But anyways, of course, that has nothing to do with the movie. If you don't think about who she is, her role is very diminished, and it does feel like, wow, it's weird that she's just like, she's the wife. She's supposed to be this really important character. I mean, she has powers, but it feels like they tried to just keep her in a movie just when they actually need it. Nicole Kidman was great. I did like her role in this film. Like I said, the CGI for the most part I liked. Some other parts I was just like, it's a CGI fest, and it makes me miss practical effects sometimes, because I mean, you can tell it's CGI, a lot of it. But yeah, guys, I gotta say, it wasn't the best Aquaman film I saw out there. I still prefer the first one. I also believe this one will be very forgettable, because there's a lot of things that has just come off as really silly. I don't think the story is very strong. I don't think the motivation for the things that are done in the movie are just not very believable. But that's it. That's my review for today. Let me know if you have the intention of watching Aquaman 2, The Lost Kingdom. And if you have seen, what did you think? Maybe you have a different opinion. Of course, opinions in movies is some. That's why I always tell, go and check it out for yourself, because perhaps my opinion is not the same as yours. And it's definitely not a problem if you love the film. I take no offense. But for me, it's definitely lacking in a lot of aspects, and I wish it wasn't this way. But I thought this was done on purpose, mostly because they just want to get rid of everything that Zack Snyder did. But drop your comments down below, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, subscribe for more, and see you next time. Bye.